tricks in.
Alright, how's it going, guys? It's just gonna be a quick video talking about standard controls and legacy controls and pretty much why I use standard. That's not to say that legacy is bad, but there are some things, there's a good reason why I don't use legacy controls, and I'm gonna be going over some of the major differences between the two and why I favor standard a bit more than legacy. It's very subjective opinion, of course, you know, but you know, I have some pretty valid arguments as to why I don't use it, and we're gonna go over them right now. Here's the one thing, I'll talk about standard first because this is the one that I currently use, right? Movement settings is standard type, is character based, and if you scroll down, there's an option here called standard type camera auto adjustment. I set it to never, okay? What this means is that as you're moving your character, right, the camera never auto adjusts to the middle, which is something that I really want to have. So this option saves me. You know, if I want to readjust my camera, I simply move my character, or I just move my camera, right? I like being observant. I like looking around for mechanics. I like moving, like strafing left, for example. If I strafe left, I can look to my right, I see what's happening here, and then I move accordingly to whatever I'm looking at. I just love having freedom, full freedom of your camera, right? And keep in mind that in a game like FF, there's a lot of mechanics that are outside the arena, inside the arena. Sometimes, you know, you have to look around very often, right? And of course, you can do that with Legacy, but the thing with Standard is that you can do that while moving your character, right? The problem for me with Legacy is you're not able to do that, okay? And I'm gonna go over that, all right? So, in Legacy type control, right? They added this option called Disable Camera Pivot, and I honestly thought when they added this change that it was gonna be making it like Standard, where you can move your camera while moving. This doesn't do anything except you have to use auto run to be able to do it. See, if I'm pressing left mouse button right now, it's moving my character. I don't want it to move my character. I want it to move the camera, right? This is my problem with Legacy, is I want to have two mouse buttons that do two different things. Left mouse button seems to move my character, right? Also, right mouse button does the exact same thing, right? And so if I want to look around, I have to stand still, right? Or alternatively, I have to move over, press the auto run option, and then I can finally look around, right? I don't like using auto run because you have to press it 2 times to stop your character. It's so not for me, okay? As someone that played Guild Wars 2, I love moving my camera around while moving my character. This is something Legacy controls is lacking. Now I'll talk about the advantages of Legacy and the advantages of Standard, all right? So I'm gonna go back to Standard. The nice thing about this is, number one, of course, the camera movement is much better. You have full camera control, and the one thing is, if you go down here, there should be an option here called Legacy Type Camera Auto Adjustment, and you should have the same option where you can set it to never. But for some reason, the option isn't here, right? And so that's what puts me off from using Legacy. Of course, it's great, you know, Legacy controls is really good because you have the option to move backwards. Like so, if you press S, your character literally goes back like this, right? You don't have to turn your whole character around and go there. Like in Standard, when you press S, obviously you are backpedaling like this, right? But I never really do that anyway when I'm playing Standard. I literally just do this. If I want to go back, I just strafe right to the back. So if I'm GCing in front, I move like this, and then move back in, move like this, move back in, just like so, right? Like let's say striking dummy, right? I'm attacking the striking dummy. I move in and out like this. So I'm GCDing, then I fully move out, Shikuchi back in, do whatever I want, right? And that's the nice thing. Now the thing with Standard controls is when you use a GCD, right? And you hold right click, your character faces that direction. This is really good for gaze mechanics. So what you want to do is when you're in Standard controls and you hold right click, it moves your character like this, right? I'm not moving right now. but my character looks the direction that I want, right? So this is, if you go on Legacy, right? If you go on Legacy here and you press right click, it doesn't move my character at all. It's just staying still. So your movement will be the adjusting factor, okay? So if you're a Legacy type and there's this dummy has a gaze mechanic, you want to strafe left and right, right? So GCD, left and right, left and right, left and right. GCD, left and right, like this. You want to constantly like make sure that you're facing away, right, from the gaze. If you're trying, of course, GCD while the gaze mechanic is happening. Alternatively, you can do this, like GCD and then walk back like this. But now if you GCD, your character's gonna look this way, right? Faces the target. That's why, personally, I like it so that you're facing this direction, right? And then GCD. So you can keep looking this way, you get me? If you're like this and you press S, right? You have to press S again. And then S again. And you S again, you know? It's like, it's very, very off. You know, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're looking this way. So this is something, but it's with movement, right? So whenever you GCD, you have to move your character left and right, just to make sure you're actually facing that way. So no matter what, every time you GCD, so even if you're auto-attacking, like, you can auto-attack backwards, you know? It's just the GCD that turns your character around to face it, right? In standard controls, the way you do this with standard controls is you don't actually move your character at all. You simply wiggle your mouse like this because it makes it so that you're looking away, right? So if I GCD normally, obviously this is in standard now, so my character is hitting like this, right? Now if I look outside, wiggle a little bit, you know, as long as you're holding right click and you wiggle a little bit, it updates it faster. So if I'm holding right click, right now I'm just holding right click and GCDing. See? Works just the same. But sometimes it does that, see that? It can be inconsistent. See that? Sometimes you look at the character a little bit and then you look back. Look at the character a little bit, even though I'm holding right click. Right? I'm holding right click. Looked away, see? And now it looks away. Holding right click. I'm still holding right click, by the way. See, now it updated. I moved my mouse a little bit and it readjusted. So when you're playing standard controls, you have to move your camera when GCDing. So like this. Alright? It doesn't even have to be like super fast wiggling. It's just a way to cheese mechanics like gaze. You have to move your mouse a little bit. And I've seen a Xeno video talking about legacy versus standard. He obviously over-exaggerates it a little bit. I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong, but he over-exaggerates. He moves his camera like this while he's doing the example. You don't need to do all that. Obviously, he's probably doing it for comedic factor, right? But you don't have to wiggle that much, and you only wiggle after GCD, right? So you do this, and you're still looking this way. So this is so you don't have to move your character while doing this, right? This is the major difference between standard and legacy. Again, like these aren't like reasons why I don't use legacy. Honestly, the only reason I don't use legacy is because of the camera, right? Legacy is really, really good in so many ways, right? And also, if you're standard and you're GCDing and you're walking across something, you know, you have to hold right mouse button. Obviously, even with legacy, I do that just instinctively. I hold right mouse button every time because I come from Guild Wars 2, right? As you're GCDing, walking through bosses, you know, you hold right mouse button, you GCD. With standard, you don't really have to hold right mouse button, but I just do it anyway, right? So you have to make sure also sometimes with standard, like in P7S, there's when you're walking across the bridge, if you hold right mouse button and you don't wiggle sometimes, it's very weird. It's like you have to move your mouse a little bit. Like even just a little bit, it will like update, it will re-update, it will refresh, and it will continue moving your character in that direction. So I'm a wiggle gamer, right? And the wiggle isn't like wiggle. You literally move a little bit. But you only do this when you're like walking through a boss or you're going through certain stuff and GCDing at the same time. Like let's say I'm greeting and then I want to move, you know, just move like this, or I can strafe my way like this. That's it. It's very simple. Right? If we go on legacy, the way it's done with legacy is you can just walk through it and you don't have to hold right mouse button at all. See, I'm literally not holding right mouse button right now. I'm just walking through. That's all I'm doing. I hold right mouse button anyway again, just because of instinct. But yeah, you can see Legacy is really, really nice. See, I'll use a Rayton, for example. See that? Walking through, Rayton. And obviously you can execute the exact same thing in Standard. It's just that in Legacy you don't have to hold right mouse button. Honestly, I really think both have their advantages and disadvantages. Legacy control obviously benefits super highly because you have the ability to run backwards using S. And with Standard you have to look to the right and then strafe, right? Because you're backpedaling by default in Standard. So honestly, I would love to see one thing added to this is this part here. Type camera auto adjustment. I'm not really sure why this is an option, but it is an option for Standard, and it's literally the reason why I play Standard, is just being able to have full camera movement. And remember, like, I love using Shikuchi, right? So sometimes I'll look behind and I'll Shikuchi like this, or I'm strafing one way and I'm ready to use Shikuchi and I jump like this. So even as a ninja, like, it helps me do that. Obviously you can execute the exact same thing as in Legacy, right? I just love the freedom of camera movement, and the only way Legacy becomes perfect is if they just add it so that the camera doesn't auto adjust. That's it. And I don't want to use auto run, right? I want to hold down W, I want to hold down S, A, D, whatever. I want to hold down the movement key, right? And then just be able to have this freedom of camera movement. That's the only thing really I'd add to Legacy. Other than that, I'm not bashing Legacy. I'm not saying like Standard is better than Legacy. I'm just saying both have their flaws. And I really think Legacy would be a perfect control scheme if it just had better camera controls. That's about it. Other than that, both have their advantages. I think if you're a console player, 100% you should play Legacy. Like, it's pretty much a no-brain decision. With Standard controls, like, you have a lot of like movement with your mouse. If you're playing Legacy, just stick with, if you're playing on PlayStation, just play with Legacy for sure. And really, that's about it. That's all I really wanted to talk about. Just there's just obviously some misunderstandings about Standard controls that people don't really understand fully. And I figured I'd just talk about it as someone that plays Standard controls since I started this game. I feel like it's good control scheme, right? The only downside is that S backpedals. Otherwise, Standard controls would be perfect if just the backpedaling didn't exist and your whole camera turns around. Legacy would be perfect if it had better camera controls. So both of them have this disadvantage, and I just feel like they could be perfect, It's just, I would love to see some changes like added to those to just make them a little bit better when it comes to camera controls. And really, that's it. That's all I really want to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, have yourselves a good one. Peace out.